fast.
Did you walk around and grab people? Where are they? You want us to do that?
I'll do it real quick.
Oh, just tell them to get their rear ends in
Get
here.
your rear ends in this room. We should just start. Why do we get...
Hello, Debbie. We need a PA assistant.
We used to have
PA.
one.
Get in there.
Yeah, get your butt in here. I remember Archie Harders back in the day used to get on the intercom and say, the 10 o'clock sales meeting starts in 10 minutes ago. That was fun. I'm gonna make sure I have my jacket because it gets chilly. I get chilly in this room. Wonder if he's-
No, you didn't do it. I know. We had the coffee seeds in my tea and the cream cheese on my. Thank you.
I don't know what happened to Michael Guthrie. He must have left so he can make an entrance.
I think he probably went to the men's room for that. I think yesterday's reminder needed to be longer and more emphatic.
Tell me what that was.
It was just a one-liner, just reminding people that today Michael Guthrie was going to be here.
Me too.
Yeah, it's my fault.
It's not your fault, you didn't send it out.
I put it on Facebook too.
You did?
Want to sit down so I can do an introduction?
Sure.
Or you want to come? You want to come out and we'll turn the music on?
I thought I'd stand up and give you an introduction.
I think you've got that in the works. I think I'll be nice if you'll be nice.
That's right.
All right. Why don't we go ahead and get
We've got
started?
people still.
Ladies, we have no. Well, one gentleman. You know, for some of you, there is no need for an introduction because I believe you may have known Michael even longer than I have. I met Michael back in about 1991 when I was at some company that doesn't exist anymore. And Michael was the vice president at Wolford. Right? So I don't know if I'm sure I won't go into depths and stories, but you know, in spite of, I'll put it to you this way, in spite of warnings from beyond, do you remember? Amazing, warnings from beyond, not to go to work for this guy. I did, right? Truly, I'm going to have to tell the story now, or they're going to wonder what it was.
I was going to say we have to hear the story.
So I'm not one who like delves into the other side. But on the morning that I'm getting ready to go visit with Michael and Dick Purvis, right?
Great.
Finish my shower, I pull back my shower curtain and on the mirror, swear to God, into my mirror is a big N-O. No. No, it's either my wife or it's somebody from beyond and she swears to this day it wasn't her. You know, and so many times something happens to you and you go, did that happen? Did that happen? Well, I knew this happened because the first thing I did was go get the video camera and video it. This one ain't getting by. So I didn't go to work for Michael that day. I went and I met and heard the story and I thought it was awesome, and yet I said, no way, man. Nuh-uh, I'm not doing this. But Michael didn't let go. For some reason, I think he liked me. And so in spite of that, I went to work for him anyway, which must tell you that he is something special, and he is. He is, for me, like a brother. And I'm just as pleased as punch that he agreed to come here and visit with us today. Now, he is the CEO at Roy Wheeler Realty, which is one of our brethren in the leading real estate companies of somewhere. Right?
The world.
The world. Thank
All
you.
over the world.
Yep, so, you know, but he is a fabulous person, and I can tell you this. Some people talk the talk, Michael walks the walk. Because I can tell you, of all the people I ever worked for, truly, and I've said this before and he knows it, he's the best. Why is he the best? Because some people tell you how to do things, Michael shows you how to do things. You know, some people would tell you, here's how you make your phone calls, here's how you do what you do. Michael would send me over, hey, I made these phone calls for you today, here's these people that you need to talk to, here's how I did it, and he'd send them to you, and he'd shame you into doing it yourself. So I think that just lets them know how wonderful I am, how wonderful I feel that you're here. It's, well, come on up.
Yay.
Thank you.
Yay.
Hey, Pat, how are you?
I may have known you longer than John.
Oh, no, there are several of you that have known me longer than John. I'm grateful to be here. I'm here because of him. I don't do this often. I love doing it for my own folks, but to be out and about, it makes it a little bit more difficult. But we really do. We have a special relationship. We started off as me being his boss, and then the amazing thing that folks don't know, or a lot of folks don't know, is that he came to work for us, even though I told him that we might not be together very long. Because Coldwell Banker was in the midst of deciding to change from being corporately owned to franchising the whole operation. And that's exactly what happened. Tom Stevens ended up with the Northern Virginia part and ultimately the Maryland part. And I worked for Tom for a little bit. John actually left before I did. And then my job was sort of changed around, and I told Tom that if I was going to be managing an office, which is basically what I did, I was managing the Fair Oaks office for him, went thinking I was going to have the same role for a lot of different reasons. That didn't happen. So anyway, honest with Tom and said, look, if I'm going to manage an office, I'm going to go back to my hometown, which was Reston, and right about that time, Long and Foster approached me and said, are you happy? And I said, well, I'm happy, but, you know, what are you talking about? And they wanted to move Andy Lawless to Manassas, and they weren't going to move Andy Lawless to Manassas unless I would come to Reston. And I said, well, you know, that would be great. So in 1993, I went to Long and Foster on Wheelie Avenue and was there for 12 years and had a great run there. Super folks. We built just an incredible office there. But then got the opportunity out of the blue to go to Charlottesville and become the broker and CEO of Roy Wheeler Realty Company, which is the oldest real estate company in Charlottesville, 1927. We always thought of ourselves going back to Charlottesville, semi-retired, retired. I can tell you I'm neither of those. I'm working as hard as I've ever worked, but it's been a lot of fun. I went down there in fall of 2005. I was saying to Esther and Charlotte, I just can't believe it's been 8 years. Had one office. We were pretty much known for farms and estates, extraordinary properties, had a great reputation. They brought me in to sort of broaden the base, broaden the horizons. And as you all know, although you don't know it as much as we do in Charlottesville, the market kind of went south in 2006 and 2007 when I first got down there. People blamed me for the market here going bad because I left. And people blame me in Charlottesville for the market going south because I came. So it was a very interesting time. But now, 8 years later, we're not one office, we're 6 offices. We've gone from very little market share at all to second in the market. We've got a mortgage partnership, we've got a title partnership, and we've made some really nice headway. It's been a lot of fun. Me being the carpetbagger from the north coming in. Charlottesville's a very unique place. If you know Charlottesville, it's a very independent community. They still think Thomas Jefferson is alive up on the mountain in Monticello. And if you look at our marketplace, and you all, being with McInerney and understand the independent aspect of our business, but in Charlottesville it's even more so. I mean, the franchises just do not work in Charlottesville. We have no Coldwell Banker at all. There's a very small ERA franchise. There are a couple little tiny Century 21 franchises. Keller Williams can't get their feet going in any way. And the main company, Real Estate 3, who had a really great, I think, great brand, they made the decision to go to Better Homes and Gardens a couple of years ago, and it has not been good for them. It's been a real struggle for them. They've lost market share because of it, because people, even though it's still the same people in running it, the Better Homes and Garden in front of it, for whatever reason in Charlottesville, that people think, oh gosh, these are from outside and that kind of thing. And so, so anyway, I've been down there 8 years. It's been a great run. One of the first things I did, in all honesty, is I applied to be a leading RE member. I did it for a couple of reasons. I really believe in the organization. I don't know how much you know about leading RE. I mean, agents, we got so much. You've got so much to do and think about, and so many different places to go. But I'm going to tell you, It's not about the outgoing and incoming referrals. I mean, that's nice. But what it's really about is the amount of resources that provides you. If you haven't gotten into that Our World, sort of side of the business, find out how to do it. The training resources, they have a training academy that there are all sorts of classes that you can take. Michael Straver and the guy from Steve Harney from Keeping Current Matters. I don't know if you follow him at all, but there's some really good people. Just 10, 12-minute little videos. I want a great place for you to find right away to just, watch stuff for sale by owner, how to do buyers, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, we all know that people, you hear, we need your outgoing referrals, we need your outgoing referrals, why am I not getting incoming referrals, why, blah, blah, blah. And that's a whole other issue, but the bottom line is there's substance to Leading RE that is there that people don't even realize is there. So one of the first things I did was joined it, or got ourselves joined. I had to kind of flex with it because we didn't have a full-time relocation director. It was just me, but I said we need to be a part of this, so we need to have a relocation director. Well, the reason we don't have one is because I want it done right, and so I'm doing it myself. And I talked them into, letting me do it, and it's been great to be a part of that. The second reason is I was from Long & Foster, and I knew that we wouldn't get any referrals from Long & Foster if we weren't members, because they're going to go through the system. And so all my contacts in Northern Virginia with McInerney and Long & Foster and Avery Hess and all these Leading RE members, I knew if we weren't in there that our competitors would be getting those. So anyway, we became members of Leading RE. It was the first thing, before I did anything else, it was the first thing I did. The bottom line, as far as John's concerned, you not only have a great managing broker, but you've got a president of one of the most substantial associations in the country. And I really believe that if it's something he wants to do, I really believe he could be president of NAR someday. I really believe that. I think he has the ability to lead people in an extraordinary way. And I don't even know if that's something he's interested in, but I just think he's that kind of person. And if he wasn't that kind of person, I wouldn't be here. I thought about coming up last night, maybe going to the Nationals game with my son. I should have gone because he caught a ball. Did you see that?
Oh, man.
No, my son caught a ball.
Oh, no, I didn't see
he
that.
posted on Facebook this morning, give this fan a contract.
John
And he got a
Michael.
ball, but I heard that the catch at the end of the game must have been extraordinary. It's the catch that I didn't make in the softball game last night that I stayed for that is in my mind. That's just one of those things. My wife was there. First time she had watched me play softball in probably 30 years. I'm playing on this co-ed softball team for the first time with a group of, I'm 60, and these guys, if there's anybody 30 on that team, I don't think so. But it's this co-ed church team, and they asked me to play, and they heard I played a lot of softball, so I felt just this tremendous amount of pressure. I don't know why, it's just softball, but anyway, there was a high fly ball, and I raced over and got to it, and it just dropped out of my glove. I don't know what happened, but so they were glad I wasn't playing for the Nationals last night. I'm here for two reasons. I want to teach you something about personally promoting yourself, and I'm gonna follow that right in after taking a little break to talk about maximizing open houses. I think in my mind, they come together very nicely, and that's why I wanted to do them both at the same time. I'm a little bit intimidated by standing in front of some of you because some of you know this stuff probably better than I do, but I know for myself, I spend a lot of time in training deals, and whether it be Leroy Hauser or Rick DeLuca or Brian Buffini or Joe Stump or Sweat Hogs or you name it, I've been through it. But even though I've been through all that and I teach a lot of stuff, there's always something I learn, or I'm just reminded. Oh my gosh, I haven't thought about doing that in a long time. And Esther and I were talking in the hallway, and Charlotte and I were talking in the hallway, just a couple different things they said. I've already written notes that I'm going to use when I head back to Charlottesville, just because they said a couple different things that I hadn't thought about it that way. And so that's been worth the trip, along with going to McLean Family Restaurant this morning, which was one of my old haunts. I went in and I sat all by myself, and I had my little breakfast, and I thought, man, this is just like it used to be.
Some things don't change.
It has not changed a bit. The only thing that was disappointing is that the guys that I used to see weren't there. I thought it would have been really cool if I could have walked in and gone, Tom, what's happening? Jeff, what's going on? And but anyway, the first part of it, the promoting business, you know, I don't know how you handle the CE aspect of it, but it does have a CE credit to it. It's approved through the Virginia Real Estate Board. The second part just sort of flows right into that. So if you look at your handout, I love this little cover sheet thing. That's another thing that John can do. They're in the back.
Here, I got some.
Oh, there you go. This is the kind of thing that John can do as a managing broker, I can't do. So that's one thing you got going for you, that he's really good at this kind of stuff, and I kind of say, John, I need something like this, would you put it together for me? And hopefully he'll send this to me, because now I'll use this as my own cover sheet.
Want to send the video?
Yeah, when you send the video, that's right. Anyway, just real quickly, just to substantiate, you know, who I am and why I feel like I can do this. I started in the business in 1982 in Charlottesville, dual careered. That's why even today I will hire people from time to time that are dual careered. I call them productive or non-productive. But I remember if that somebody hadn't given me a chance, I wouldn't have made the business. Now I will say, if you're dual careered, you better have a commitment to being full time if you're going to work in my company, because I don't want it to be a sort of dabbling, because I just don't think you can do it. It's too hard. This business is way too hard unless you're really committed to doing it. But I will say this, and I said this to Esther and Charlotte. The cool thing about our business, and the thing that I got involved in 1982 in this business, was that it is a business that I can do it my way. I don't have to do it John's way. I don't have to do it Charlotte's way. I don't have to do it Betsy's way. I can do it my way. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, then I've got myself to blame, nobody else. And so the thing that I say to people as they walk through the door, either they're new agents or transfer agents in my company, is you are your own business. You are your own real estate business, and you've given McInerney Associates the privilege of having your business under their umbrella. And you should from day one know that, so that when somebody says to me, well, what time do I have to be here in the morning, I say to them, what time do you want to be here? What time is your business going to open? What time is your business going to close? Well, don't you have requirements for me to do this or that? No, no requirements. Aren't you going to make me come to training? No, I'm not going to make you come to training. I could strongly recommend that you come to training, but I'm not going to make you come. And one of the things that's absolutely crazy to me, Leroy Hauser and I were talking about this just the other day, one of the number one things, and John, Charlotte, you guys have managed at points, one of the number one things that agents say to me when they come to the company is, what kind of training do you have? I want to see your training schedule, right? It's really important. And then they never come. It's just absolutely astounding. Leroy called me the other day and he said, I'm trying to work on this thing, I need your input, blah, blah. Why is it people aren't coming to training? And people say, well, you know, they don't need it. You know, they're too busy. They got too many other things going on. And that's fine, and so I really appreciate you guys being here. But the point being is, it is your business to run your way. Now, what I also say is, they say, if an agent says, well, what are your minimum requirements? Oh, I don't have any. Well, don't you expect something out of me? Yeah, I expect you to be successful. And they say, well, but don't you have minimum? I said, no, here's the deal. You are a business. If your revenue exceeds expense, then you're good. If it doesn't, then you'll be out of the business. I won't have to make that decision for you. Your expenses will be more than your revenue, and you will be bankrupt, and you will close the door, and you will go do something else, whether it be a referral agent or, you know, paper or plastic at Giant, or, you know, whatever it is. You're going to be out of the business. So I'm going to try to help you. I'm going to encourage you. I may career counsel you into the fact that this business isn't making it, so you might want to fold it up before it's too late. But the bottom line is, I believe that people make their own, they make their own destiny in this business. And so from the get-go, it's about, how do you want to run your business? And if we talk about personal promotion, that's the question you need to ask yourself from the very beginning. What kind of real estate agent, what kind of real estate business do I want to run? Do I want to be a listing agent? Do I want to be a buyer agent? I learned very quickly in my career. In 1983, I moved to Reston. My first two kids had been born. Jan was 3, Katie was 1. My wife and I disagree with this all the time. She says they were 2 and newborn, but I think of them as 3 and 1. She's right, I'm wrong, but that's so true. But the point being, as we moved to Reston, so that the kids would grow up knowing their grandparents. Dottie's parents lived in Reston. My parents lived in Annandale. In fact, some of you know Dottie's stepfather, Bill Burke, who ran Regency Realtors, and then we sold to Robertson Lloyd and whatever. He was my stepfather. Doris was married to him. And so I came up and went into business with him in 1983. And from the very beginning, it didn't take long. We didn't really have buyer brokerage at that point. It was all, sub-agency stuff, and I see some of you nodding your heads about that. That tells you how old we all are. But the point being is, you had no control over buyers, and so within the first year, at the end of the first year, I had made the decision I was not going to work with a buyer ever again. That my goal after my second year in the business was that I would be a listing agent. I'd have enough listings, saleable listings, in good condition, that I could count on them settling and getting paid for them, and I would never work with another buyer again. I made that commitment, and after 2 years, I never worked with another buyer. Of course, I got into management a third year later, but still, I still took desk time, I still did open houses, but if John came into my open house and I had a nice conversation, I said, look, I'd really like to work with you, then I'd say, okay, John, tomorrow, me or one of my assistants, come on in the house.
Oh,
How are you?
fine. How are
Good.
you? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no, that's okay. I would say, John, me or one of my assistants will be calling you tomorrow to set up a time, and then I'd get with one of the agents and say, look, I got this person who looks like they may be interested in buying. Will you pay me a 25% referral fee? Yeah, great. Okay, you're now my assistant. Would you call them and tell them that I'm an associate of Michael's and I'm going to work with you? So the point being is, as you think about how you're going to personally promote yourself, what kind of business do you want to be? Are you going to be a listing agent, buyer agent? Are you going to work geographically? Are you going to work in a certain price range? Are you going to be somebody that goes out and really just knocks on doors to businesses and becomes the person that they use for rental tours? And the cool thing is, the sky's the limit. There are so many different ways of doing this business. One of my favorite stories about this is a woman came into my office in Reston one day, great gal. She came in, knocked on the door, and said, got a minute. Now, any of you know what got a minute means? It means you got a half an hour, or an hour, or whatever. There are, I shouldn't share this because John may not have the same thing, but I had a couple agents in my office in Reston that when I had my office set up in a way that I could see from every angle, right? And there were a couple agents in my office in Reston that when I saw them walking toward my office, I got my coffee cup and I walked out. Because I was going to meet them at the door and say, hey, how you doing? Because if I didn't, they were going to sit down and I was going to be stuck for 30 minutes. All right. So for me, the whole point of this agent comes in, she says, you got me? I said, sure. She sits down and she has her arms crossed. She's got her leg crossed and she is rigid. And I could tell something was obviously really bothering her. And she said, Michael, we need to talk. I said, okay, great. What do you want to talk about? She says, I am not going to cold call. And I said, okay. She said, no, I'm serious. I can't do that. I just can't. I won't do it. I said, okay. She said, well, is that okay with you? I said, yeah, it's fine with me. Her arms start loosening up, She goes, but you were just talking about blah, blah. I said, yeah, I was. I was talking about this and that, but I can't do that. I said, okay. You don't have to do it. Really? I don't have to do it? All of a sudden, but then I said, so, what are you going to do? And she said, what do you mean? I said, what are you going to do as far as generating leads? I mean, Esther moved to McLean and 22 years ago. New Jersey, came down, didn't know anybody. Now, she needed to do something, and if you look at her career over 22 years, she's done a lot of something, and done it really, really well. But the point being, I said, what are you going to do? She said, well, I'm really good with people. I said, well, that's great. I said, are you good with face-to-face with people? Yeah. I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. And we worked out a strategy for her to send stuff into neighborhoods and then go knock on doors. And she was fine with that, whereas somebody else would go, I'm not knocking on any doors. I'll call them because then they can't see me. Or now, I'll text them or email them because now I can do it even more anonymously. But the point being is that she was all good with that, and she became a very successful, probably a $4 or $5 million producer for me within a couple of years because she would send stuff out and then she'd just go knock on the doors and she would do what we're going to talk about. She would build rapport with people, she would gain credibility with those people, and then she would show them that she cared. And by doing that, her business just began to flourish. So as we talk about this class, you can see kind of what my thoughts are on this. I want to talk about what personal promotion means. I want to talk about ways to make contacts, earning the right to do business, specific ways to market yourself, and then the new caveat, the using social media. And I'll share some of my sort of thoughts on that. And if you have something that you want to bring into the conversation, please feel free to do that. But here's the deal. when we talk about personal promotion and what it means is generating contacts. What personal promotion means is how do I go about having people to work with? If you look down, I'm going to bounce all over the place, which is what I always do, but if you look down just a little bit below that, I have this sort of business food chain, if you will. And it says that, that at the end of the day, if somebody says to me, Michael, how do I make myself successful in this business? The answer is by having contacts. The answer is not that you know how to negotiate a contract. The answer is not that you know everything about a house so that when they do the home inspection you can help with that aspect of it. The answer is that you know that you can qualify blah blah. The answer is, do you have people that you can work with? Because if you don't, then all the expertise in the world doesn't matter. So if somebody said boil the business down to one word, I would say contacts. All right. So from there, from contacts, people become suspects. All right. They may say to you, I mean, other than doctors, I think we're the folks that at parties, once they hear they're a realtor, how's the market? What's going on? What's going on in my neighborhood? You know, they want to, you know, that's just kind of a conversation, kind of like, well, how you doing? Well, doc, I got this pain right here in my elbow. I think it's tendonitis, but could you take a look at it real quick and just let me know, you know, what you think? Well, I'm a urologist. I know, but you might know something about, you know, elbows, you know, kind of thing. The point being is, you know, they have a conversation and people start maybe talking a little bit about real estate so they become suspects, or people come into your open house, you know, are they just, you know, killing time, or are they really serious about looking at properties? And if you qualify them a little bit more, they become prospects, and then they become customers and clients, and then buyers and sellers, and then what really is important is dollars earned. Because this is a business. This is not community service. I don't think any of you have just gotten out of prison and are, you know, having to put 40 hours a week into community service. I mean, you were here to earn a living. You were here to build a business. And how am I going to do it personally? I think it's one of the biggest hurdles that realtors have to get over is that they have to be able to promote themselves. That doesn't mean that you're egotistical. It means that you need to get the word out that you're in this business and that you are wanting to help your friends, your neighbors, your contacts. You want to help them with the business, and then when you do a good job, you want to help their friends. I am all about the whole aspect of building business by referral, and I'm all about, as a manager, having people come to my company because my agents feel good about where they work. And when they hear somebody that's disgruntled, say, oh, you need to come talk to Michael. You know, Michael runs office this way, or Michael's, blah, blah, blah. And that's the same thing with your business. You want to, every time, I don't know, how many of you read the book Raving Fans? Okay, it's a book, if you haven't read it, buy it. It's a cheap, inexpensive book. It's written by the same people that wrote 1 Minute Sales Manager, 1 Minute Salesperson, whatever. They collaborated and wrote this book called Raving Fans. It's all about customer service. And what it's about is creating raving fans so that those people can't help but talk about you. You know, we've all heard the adage that bad news travels a lot faster than good news, right? But what's really true is if people really like you and they hear your name, they're going to say good things. People don't like you and they hear your name, they're going to say bad things. One of the things I always say is when somebody comes up to me and says, Michael, I know you don't remember, but back in blah, 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 you told me to do this, and I just got to tell you it changed the way I do business, and I can't thank you enough. And in one sense, the egotistical side of me would say, oh, look at that, I'm pretty good. You know, I said something, they did it, it worked, what a concept. The other side's thinking, how many people have I said stuff to that's ripple affected out, and when they hear my name, they go, ah, guy's a jerk. You know, that day he did blah, blah, blah. And I kind of go that way, and so that I try to stay on the other side where I'm doing good stuff versus rippling out bad stuff. But the point being is, at the end of the day, when you're promoting yourself, it should be about how am I going to build my business so that I have enough money coming in that pays my expenses and has, at the end of the day, enough to do whatever else. This is not a business planning workshop. This is not a money management, but I really think it's important that if you're treating it as a business, you should have a P&L, and you should be paying yourself a salary and taking the taxes out and putting them someplace else and deciding how much you're gonna do for advertising. You know, NAR says, I don't know, I guess it's what, 7 to 10% now, something like that, of what you gross, what you earn, should be going back into building your business. The point being is, at the end of the day, that's what you're looking for, is the dollars earned. I have a simple thought process that helps me focus on what's important. I've already shared it with you. Building a rapport, gaining credibility, showing people you care. If you're a people person, then building a rapport shouldn't be a problem. That part of your chain should not cause a problem. You should be able to get contacts. You might even be able to get suspects. Because you're just a nice person and you can gauge. If you don't think of yourself as a people person, there's one thing that you have to do that will allow you to build rapport. What do you think it is? You're not really a outgoing, gregarious kind of person. What's the one thing you can do to build rapport with people?
Act.
Okay, act. What else?
Ask questions.
There it is. Ask questions.
Just ask questions.
You just ask them questions and keep on doing what in the Sweat Hogs we used to call wopen questions. All start with a W. What, when, how with a W. When, where. You can't answer those questions with a yes or no. All right, so what?
It's an open-ended question.
It's an open-ended question, open question, and whether you're on floor call or an open house or you're at a party or whatever, you ask open questions, and those people are so grateful to have somebody want to hear their story. And you just keep on asking questions, and you will build rapport, I can promise you, and you will get an opportunity to speak into their lives and gain credibility. And then finally, most of us are good-hearted people, okay? But showing people you care means you have to have a system in place that makes that happen. We were just talking about old friends. And we were talking about the fact that a lot of times we have old friends and I can't remember the last time I talked to them. Boy, I really need to reach out to them, right? Well, the reason we can't remember the last time we talked to them, or I need to reach out to them, is because we don't have a system for doing that, okay? So when I talk about showing people you care, you need to have a system in place. I don't know if it's, top producer, or it's Microsoft Outlook, or it's your legal pad. When I worked for Wes Foster, my wife actually worked for Wes Foster for a couple of years up at the headquarters, and so she had to report to him on some things. She was helping them build in the initial stages, building the mortgage and the title affiliated services, and Dottie was involved in that. And Dottie's goal every day of her time at Long & Foster was to get off Wes's legal pad. She couldn't wait for the day where the page would turn and he would start writing other stuff down, because whatever was on that page, he was like tenacious. John and I both worked on it. If it was dress code or if it was whatever, he just was like, white on rice as it related to that. One of my favorite stories is at managers meeting, he would say stuff that just was outrageous, and everybody else knew to just ignore it because it would go away. But people, when it was serious enough to talk about, everybody would turn and look at me. And so I'd raise my hand, and Wes would call me, and I'd stand up and I'd say something, and everybody else was glad I'd said it because nobody else would. But one day he started talking about dress code. And I was in Reston, and this is in the probably early 2000s, when, Silicon Valley of the East and all that kind of stuff, all the high-tech companies there, nobody in those companies were wearing ties or whatever. And then he got up and said, I want the women in suits, and I want the men in ties. And if I come into your office, I don't want to see them sitting at the desk without that. And I, like I always did, I raised my hand, and he called me, and I said, Wes, if you're telling me to do that, I'll go in tomorrow and do it, and half my office will be gone. Is that what you want? And he just looked at me and said, damn it, Michael, just deal with it. And then I sat back down. So the next managers meeting, I walk in, and John had brought a car seatbelt to the managers meeting, and they buckled me into my chair so that I couldn't stand up.
Should have been a gag.
Should have had a gag too. But I don't even know how I got off on that. But the point being is, when you're talking about showing people you care, you have to have a system in place. Okay? Even if it's a legal pad or index cards, Rolodex, I don't care what it is, but you need to have something that reminds you that these people are important and that they need to hear from you. I don't know if this statistic is still true. I think it probably is, but I haven't seen it recently. NAR did a study a few years ago, and they did a study, sent surveys out to first-time buyers all over the country. And they asked them a bunch of different questions, but it was all questions just to kind of get them to do it. But the one question they really were looking at was, did you have a good experience with your realtor? And if you did, would you use them again? 92% of the people said they had a good experience with their realtor and that they would use them again. Pretty amazing. So a year later, same group, send the information out, bunch of questions, but what they wanted to know mostly was, did you have a good experience with your realtor, and would you use them again? Guess what the percentage was a year later?
60.
62%. A year later, still in the house, 62%. Guess the reason?
No follow-up.
Never heard from the agent again. Never heard from. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when you've got, this is the reason why I didn't want to work with buyers anymore. When you have buyers in your car, you learn all about them. And a lot of them become your very good friends because you learn, they tell you stuff that they don't tell their brothers. They tell you stuff that they don't tell whoever because you're asking them about financial and their dreams. Are you buying this house to buy this and then sell something else and keep this as a rental? You buying this because, oh, you're buying this because you're separating from her. Oh, I didn't, and you were going to buy this and then you're saying, oh, great, I have a degree in physical education. I have a master's in counseling. I use both of those degrees every day. As I got buyers in my car, the first thing I would do is, and just, silly kind of stuff, but I'd get them in the car, put the seatbelts on, we'd start to back up, oh, just a minute, I'd put it back in drive, and I'd put it back in park, and I'd say, and I'd turn and say, you guys just need to know something. You cannot wait and talk to each other in the hotel room about what you liked and disliked about houses. You need to fight right in here, okay? Because I need to know, if you don't do that, I'm going to keep on showing you houses that she hates, right? Or that you don't like, because I need to hear that, and we need to have that going. And then I always say, just don't worry about it, because I do have a master's in counseling, and professionally I will be able to handle whatever happens in this car. But the point being is that a year later, people would not use them. They couldn't remember people's names. I mean, that's so sad. I mean, it's worse than, it's just bad. And so you need to have a system in place that makes it happen. If you talk to Rick DeLuca will say that a personal note needs to go to that buyer within a week of them buying a house. Hope everything's going well. And then the first month anniversary, you pick up the phone and you call them. How's it going? You still enjoying the house? Blah blah. 3 months, 6 months, and then every year they should get an anniversary card from you. I can't believe you've been in this house 7 years. Do you know that the average in the country is that people move every 7 years? So that means you must be ready to move. Do you need a realtor to, but you understand what I'm saying. But the point being is there needs to be a system in place to show people you care. And whether it's business or personal, I really think that you need a system in place to show your kids you care. Because if you don't, you just assume that they know that. And you need to, when was the last time that I did something just with my daughter? Or when was the last time that my wife and I actually went out, just the two of us, and did something? And so if that's not a natural thing for you, then have a system for it. And even though it's a system, I'm going to tell you they're going to appreciate it. Even if they know it must be your time to check in on me, kind of thing. I know you well enough to know that you've got, it's the third Thursday, whatever. But the point being is, if you don't do it, it's much worse than doing it and having it in there. The good news about our business is that everybody you meet is a potential client. The bad news about our business is that everybody you meet is a potential client. So balance is another really important thing. And that's where, again, the systems that come into play to give you that balance so that you can, work hard, but at the same time play hard and enjoy life. Esther and I were talking before this morning, and the other thing I tell people when they come to my company is that they're their own business. But I also say you need to understand something. It's not a job; it's a lifestyle. Real estate is not a job; it's a lifestyle. Everything you do can have the real estate hat on it. When I was actively involved in sales, I was coaching my kids. I was the president of my homeowners association. I was volunteering at the high school. I was doing all those kind of things, and I was doing that, one, because I wanted to be a good dad. 2, I wanted to be a good community person. But 3, I wanted to be a realtor and have people know me as that, so that they'd say, you know what, we're getting ready to do this. I'm going to use that guy because he's so involved in what's going on. But the point being is, again, that everything you do can wear that, so you have to figure out how that all works. I think this is a very interesting statistic. When you reach out to somebody, there's 285 people behind them. So if you can envision a person, I'm looking at Pat, but there are 285 people. If I can positively impact Pat as it relates to my business, somehow, some way, there's 285 people that could very well be impacted by that. So if you have 10 people that you're really seriously committed to and involved with, that's 2,850 people that could very well know that you're in the business. Social media is, that just puts that on steroids. There are, I don't know, on my Facebook page, there are probably several hundred people that are friends. And so everything that I post goes out to those people. And we'll talk more about that, but the point being is that the ripple effect of how you market yourself, whether it be in a geographic farm area, sphere of influence, whatever, impacts people that you don't even know are being impacted. A friend of mine who was an agent in my Long Foster office and is very much of a Brian Buffini person, says he's gotten his business now to a place 12 years later of doing this stuff that we're talking about, that he, this year for the first time twice, has had people referred to him by different people. That, in one sense, 2 people said, hey, you need to work with this person they're thinking about buying. In another sense, 3 different people called him and said, hey, this person's thinking about selling. You need to be in touch with them. His network has gotten wide enough that now they're what do they call that? Subtopic, subsetting. That the pockets are all kind of together, and so in one sense, 2 different people refer to the same person. In another sense, 3 people. Anyway, so just kind of keep that in mind, and then in the last 15 minutes or so with this, before we move into the other, let me just kind of walk you through some practical things that a lot of you already know, but I think are really important. When a customer comes to you with a positive story about their experience, get them to write it up, whether it be in handwritten or email. Email's in a lot of ways better if they'll send it to you by email, because you can then forward that out to your customer base. It may feel awkward and uncomfortable, but and you're not doing it all the time. But the fact that your people that care about you, they like reading that you're doing a good job and that things are going well. We have something in our company where on every transaction, buyer or seller, they get a letter from me, and the letter says, "Thank you so much for using Roy Wheeler and whoever the agent was. And we really appreciate it, and we want to continue to do business in a way that makes you want to use us again. If you could just fill out these things for us, we'd appreciate it." And I hand sign every one of them. Those go out, and then they come back in. And they come back in, and they're used in a lot of different ways. One, how did they find us? Internet or sign or whatever. I always love to see that open houses still work, and people still call on signs, and people do personally refer people, and but actually a print media ad got called, whatever it might be. But the point being is, the other thing I love about it is that I get to read what the people say about my people. So we're on August 14th or 15th, and I haven't been in the office. I went in the office yesterday, but up until Wednesday, or Tuesday, every survey that's come back to Roy Wheeler this year, that people have rated us either excellent or very good and said they would recommend us to our friends. So we've got 100% customer satisfaction, which I love it. It's my favorite thing to do in the day when I see those envelopes come in, because I know I'm going to just read good things about the people that work with me. Last year, I think we finished at 98.7 or something like that. But anyway, at this point, it's 100%. But the other thing I love is I get the survey, and I personally write notes on them to the agents. Because a lot of the transactions, I know what they did or how hard they were or whatever, and I will personally write notes on those things, and they go back to them so that, one, they get something back from me to say, I care about you. I'm so excited that your business is going well. But 2, they now can use these to send out to their client base. And if you follow us, if you go to Facebook, if you're on Facebook and you go to Roy Wheeler and you follow our our business page, whether it be the main page or our different offices, one of the things I do during the day is when I get these surveys is I type those things in as a status. So happy to read this about our agent today, and it'll have that. So that anybody's on that Facebook page that's going out, hopefully those folks seeing quality stuff, quality service in a professional way. And for you guys individually to get that information out to folks. We're going to talk about open houses as a way to prospect for listings and establish a geographic farm area. But think about creating a flyer out of the testimonials and distribute them to your sphere of influence. Just take whatever people are writing about you and just create your own flyer. I don't know if you do this or not, but when you're going to a listing appointment, I like to think about it as you're going on a job interview. And they're hiring somebody to market their home to get it sold. And so we talk in our company about, getting ready for the job interview. And one of the things in the job interview is you better have references. These testimonials are great to say, here are references. I used to, back in the day, a long time ago, when I'd go into a listing, whether it was a for sale by owner, an expired, or a geographic farm area, I would get my letters out and I would put the right kinds into my presentation. And what I would do is when I got to the place in the thing about references, I'd say, you know what? I told somebody I was giving them a call at 3 o'clock. Can I just go make a quick phone call? And I would leave them at the table with the references so that they would read them while I was there. Because if I didn't, they may never read them. So I would literally leave the room for 5 minutes and have them sitting there with the notebook at that point. I mean, now people have iPads and computers and all that kind of stuff, but just the notebook open to the references so that they would read it. So when they came back in, hopefully my credibility was being established with them because of the references. Thinking outside the box, and as far as personal promotion, thinking outside the box when it comes to for sale by owners and expireds. And what I mean by that, and I won't spend a lot of time on that, but for sale by owners, I really think that I hated for sale by owners. How many of you like for sale by owners? How many call on for sale by owners? And the reason you don't is because you hate them and you don't know how to do them. They're awkward. They're
I just did
uncomfortable.
one last week.
Good for you.
I just did a for sale by owner. I wrote a contract for a client on front, and he didn't even negotiate it. He just threw it back at me, and it was a good offer. And that's the thing that
Yep.
you have to say to yourself, why?
Yeah.
So
So
why are you doing this?
exactly, and I'm going to tell you why. Because you're going to think outside the box next time. And here's the deal: with a for sale by owner, don't even think about the listing. What other types of business can I get from that for sale by owner? So what we do at Roy Wheeler is we go and we introduce ourselves. We say, hey, we see you're trying to sell your house on your own. That's great. Our company may have buyers in this price range. If we were to have a buyer and they brought you an acceptable offer, would you pay a commission? Great. Now, let me just ask you a question. If I could help you get this sold without a realtor, would that be helpful to you? And they go, well, what do you mean? I'm a for sale by owner. I said, no, I understand that, and I'm a realtor. We got that part together. We both understand where we're coming from here. But you need to understand something. I specialize in this marketplace, and I know a little bit about selling homes. And if I could help you sell your home without using a realtor, would that be helpful to you? And they go, well, yeah, I guess. I said, great. So that's all I want to do is that if you ever need any advice, if you ever need anything, questions at, where to market or whatever, I hope you'll call me. And the point being is, I'm not in any way thinking I'm not even thinking about getting that listing. I'm not Tommy Hopkins that would go up to the door with a for sale sign, knock on the door, and say, hi, I'm Tommy Hopkins. And the guy says, well, that's great. What do you need? I say, well, I'm a realtor with such and such company, and I saw you got the wrong sign in the yard. And I've got the right one to put on. Can we get started? That's not me. I mean, that's like the woman that goes, I'm not cold calling. I'm not cold calling. I could no more do that or be in an open house in 100-degree weather and hand out somebody a half-gallon ice cream and say, you can go home now. You found the right realtor. Here's a half-gallon ice cream as a gift. They had to go home. Either that or have ice cream all over their car if they accepted the thing. That's not me. I'm much more, what can I do? And here's the deal. One thing out of that, and it's for another class, but one thing that comes out of that is where are they moving? They may be moving to Tuscaloosa. You could send them as an outgoing referral to Tuscaloosa and may get money back just because you contacted them. And what do you mean? Well, we're moving to Tuscaloosa. Blah, okay, do you have a realtor there? Well, no, not yet. Well, I can help you with that. We are a member of the leading real estate company in the world. We can get you a top broker in that marketplace. Would that be helpful? I'll use your name and number. Super. The other thing that you might do somewhere down the line is, are you getting tired of holding your open houses? And this is weeks later, and you're building the rapport, and you're gaining credibility, and you're showing people you care. And are you getting tired of holding opens? Yeah. Well, how about if I hold it open for you this Sunday? And here's how it'll work. We'll do a one-day showing, and if I get a buyer, through holding your house open that, that wants to buy your house, you'll agree to understand that I represent the buyer and you'll pay me a 3% commission and we'll be good. So you put your own sign in the yard, you market it, and you hold their house open so that they go to the movies or they're going to go to the beach that week or whatever. And oh, by the way, I'll water the plants when I'm in there so that you don't have to worry about that while you're gone for the week. The point being is there's an opportunity to market yourself, especially if it's an area that you're trying, price range that you know is working right now and that there's good stuff going on. Another thing as you build the trust, and I'll go on, I'll just give you a few examples, is somewhere down the line, a few weeks later, it still hasn't sold. Hopefully they're now getting a little bit frustrated, but the point being is at some point you can say, you know, I think we've gotten a place where you can trust me. You see that I really care about you. You know, I certainly, if you do decide to list with a realtor, I hope you'll give me an opportunity to be one of the realtors you talk to. But in the meantime, how many people have actually shown your house? And they say, well, probably 10. Okay, great. And are any of them interested in buying the house? Well, I don't think so. Maybe a couple, but I don't think so. Well, how about if you do this? How about if you give me the list? And let me call and find out if they're still interested. If they are, I'll redirect them to you. But if there aren't, then I can talk to them and see if I can sell them something else. Now, if you've built the trust with the people, there's a good chance they're going to give you that. Because guess what? Most of the people that go to for sale by owner, other than the situation we just talked about, most of the people that first go to for sale by owner come without an agent. So now you've got a prospect list that's just been sitting there waiting for somebody to call them. So it's just another place of finding out. Or it might be a for sale by owner that is going to buy a new home. Oh, really? Have you decide which one? No. Okay. Well, if I can, get some information and find the right place, could I, maybe help with you with that? Anyway, the point being is outside the box, not about getting the listing. And what I find is that you do the business the right way with a servant-hearted attitude, wanting to care for the people, doing whatever you can, not attached to the outcome. Oftentimes, those people will come around and say, you know what? And the other thing that happens, and again, just outside the box, is that let's say they sell it on their own, okay? What have they been doing at work for weeks since they put it on the market? All they're talking about is, getting their house sold. And then finally, they get it sold and they come strutting their stuff, into the office. How's it going? I'm fine, I got my house sold this week. See, I didn't need a realtor. Blah, blah, And then the person that in the next cubicle says, well, that's great. We're thinking about putting our house on the market. They say, well, just put it on the market if you're on. The market's hot. You're in a neighborhood that's going to sell. Blah, blah. They said, nah, I couldn't do it. I need a realtor. I need somebody to trust. Who are they going to tell them to call? They tell them to call you because you helped them all the way through the process. It's all about building that network. So thinking outside the box. Personal promotion. Consider holding happy hours or dinners so you can personally network within networks that you positively impact your business. Just little things. It doesn't have to be a big deal. And it could just be one drink. I mean, you don't have to make it a big deal. Hey, we're going to meet at wherever. I'd love for you to join us. And first drink's on me. And you're bringing people together and they're chatting and that kind of thing. I mean, people do a lot of big things. People do, nationals, baseball games or Redskin exhibition games or whatever. But they're just bringing people together. And when you do that, there's a much better chance, one, again, that people are going to know you care about them. And two, they're going to remember and refer stuff to you. So just think about just little outside-the-box kind of gatherings you can do. Talk to your business sphere of influence about setting up an area with your material. I think this is a place that we really missed the boat. I go to the same dry cleaner, a couple times a week. I go oftentimes to the same restaurants, you name it. Whatever it is, go to those people and say, hey, I've been coming here a lot. Would you mind if I put my business cards here at the table? So that if anybody is new to the area and sees the thing, that they might call me. And if they were to ask, I would hope that you point them to me or whatever. All the people can say is no. I mean, it may be that they got a lot of realtors that come in there and they don't want to do that. But bottom line is most of them have never been asked. And so to ask them, there's a very good chance, at least initially, that they're going to say yes. Now, of course, the next realtor comes in, oh, their stuff's in here, I need to have my stuff in here. And it may have all go kaflooey, but at least for a while, there's an opportunity there. Regular email blasts about the industry, new products, and news about your company. If you don't know how or don't have time, find an email newsletter service. Years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, VAR gave us the ability to, through the California Association of Realtors, have an electronic newsletter called Client Direct. It was free. It was part of our dues. Interesting is nobody used it, so they ended up taking it away because it was they were paying for it and nobody was taking advantage of this free service. I still use it. I still pay for it. I still try to push my agents into getting something out on a monthly basis electronically, and I finally had an epiphany the other day. I'm trying to talk them into it. It's only going to cost you $96 a year. It's well worth it once you get it set up. It's only going to take you a couple minutes a month to create the newsletter, click and do the articles and everything. And one day I was in a class that I've created called Dare to Be Great. Are you bold enough to dare to be great? And I went, oh my gosh. I said, I don't sell. A lot of managers and stuff in Charlottesville are agents as well, selling agents as well, but I don't. That was a commitment I made to my folks when I first got there. I don't sell. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a newsletter. I'm going to forward it to you on the first Monday of every month. And all you'll have to do is forward it out, say, hey, here's the manager's monthly newsletter from our company. I hope the information is helpful. If it is, please reach out to me. So they didn't have to do anything other than to send it out. And so now it's being used. The problem is that a lot of the agents don't have electronic distribution lists. Okay, that's something that you really need to be doing. You just really need to be working on getting people's emails and that kind of thing. And one of the ways, and we'll talk about it in the open house section of this, is going back to the sphere of influence or the businesses that you work with. There are certain restaurants that maybe you go to on a regular basis. I'll just use McLean Family Restaurant because I went to breakfast there this morning. If I was in there 2 or 3 times a week, what I would do is I would go in and say, hey, manager, I am holding open houses a couple times every month. What I'd like for you to do is to give me a $50 gift certificate every month. And I'm going to market McLean Family Restaurant in all my flyers. And I'm going to get people to sign up at my open houses. And once a month, I'm going to have a drawing. But the only way they can win the drawing is if they give me their email address. Folks, at $50, people are going to sign up. I can promise you that. I mean, people sign up for free vacations, and those boxes are always filled. I don't understand why they do that, because all you're going to do is get there and be trying to sell you something. But the point being is, if you do a $25 or $50 gift certificate once a month, there's a drawing. 2 things happen. 1, you're marketing the business. And 2, you get to market, hey, I'm holding this open house and there's going to be a drawing, blah, blah. And 3, you then get to send something out. Congratulations to Bill and Mary Smith. They won the $50 gift certificate. So you have all these reasons for following up and touching base with these people. And so, keep that in mind. Make it personal and business. People want to know you as well as know what's going on in your workplace. Find things that you think would be interesting to them. I love to play with Facebook as it relates to that, posting different things and seeing how many comments I get about some inane thing, whereas something serious, nobody even looks at. I mean, it's just kind of funny, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. Watch the news, send personal notes to those in your sphere of influence when you notice them being recognized. This is something I just did. I mean, this is a huge personal promotion thing. I had business cards like this made up. Big business cards, just my business card, but on a postcard size. I had these had them all over the place. And I would watch the news, and when somebody made all district, or they were starring in the Joffrey Ballet, or whatever it is, I would sit down and I'd write them a note. Dear such and such, congratulations on being named all district, or dear such and such, saw you were named best lawyer, top 50 lawyers in Northern Virginia, or whatever it is. And what would happen is these would go out, and especially if they were to the kids. The other thing I would do in the elementary school is I got involved in the elementary school and knew the principal well enough that I would get the honor roll sent to me every quarter. And every quarter I would write a note to every child that was on the All-A honor roll, and saying congratulations, blah, blah. And what would happen? Guess where this would go?
To the parents.
Parents get the mail, so they're seeing it. Then it goes to the child, right? But then where does it go? Refrigerator. So every time they see that note, because they're proud of their child, or a bulletin board in the kids' room, or whatever, they remember you. Personal notes, huge. And real quick, as we talk about social media, I think we've gotten away from personal notes. We're emailing, we're doing, email newsletter, that's great. Certain types of communication, I think that's great. But when we talk about social media is all about being part of the conversation. When you're talking about personally promoting yourself in social media, it's about being in the conversation. Point being is, we're in this room and there's 20 of us, okay? And when we stop here for a minute for a break, there'll be all sorts of little conversations that are going on. Social media is exactly that. There are all these conversations going on, but people that aren't in this room right now aren't hearing the conversations. Can't, because they're not here. So if you're not on social media, you are missing out on so many different ways to engage people. You don't have to type anything in or whatever, but you can begin to establish a friend base that you can begin to see what's going on. Folks, I can tell you, I can sit here for half an hour and tell you business that my agents have gotten because they heard about it on Facebook. Was up till midnight last night painting the bathroom. Oh, really? Why were you painting that? Oh, we're thinking putting our house on the market. Well, if you're thinking about putting your house on the market, is there any chance that I might? Now, are you doing that on the status? No, you're now going to personal message and having that conversation without other realtors knowing that. But the point being is, it's about being in that conversation. The example I always use is your favorite holiday party. There's a party every year that you go to, and everybody's there, right? And you just you're going to make sure you're at that party because you're going to get to rub shoulders and elbows and stuff with people that you really want to spend time with. And there are all those conversations. If you're not at that party, you don't get that network. You don't get those conversations. But the point of it being is being part of the conversation, but then taking it to the next level to personally promote yourself. Taking it to the next level as far as picking up the phone. I'll give you a great example, and there's so much I can tell you about this, but a great example. How many of you are on Facebook? All right. On your last birthday, how many of those happy birthdays on your wall did you read before you finally said, "Thank you so much for all your warm wishes"?
It's wonderful.
It is wonderful, but you end up I don't have time to just read all those things. So here's the difference. It's somebody that may not be in your top 10. It's somebody in your top 50. They're having a birthday. It's wonderful that you can be reminded that it's Charlotte's birthday, right? But instead of going just on the status, "Hey, happy birthday, Charlotte, hope you have a great day," whatever, you click message. And at least then it's personal. They're getting something, and very few other people do that. And it comes, and you look at it, and you see you got a message, you click, and you actually read that knowing that it's something different than what was on the wall, right? Better yet, have a stack of birthday cards at your desk and look at Facebook every morning. If you don't do anything else, look at Facebook every morning and see that you have 5 people that are having birthdays. One of them may warrant just putting on the status because you don't really know them. I personally message every single person. I never do the status thing. Even my kids. And my kids, that's a whole other story. My wife's even more of a story. My wife hates Facebook. We've been married 35 years. We have a wonderful relationship. We're more in love with each other now than we've ever been. We've had more arguments about Facebook than any other thing in our marriage. Because she says, if I want people to know that we're going to the movies this weekend, I'll tell them. You don't have to tell them. I don't want people coming up and saying, "How was Il Chino last night?" Well, what do you mean? Well, Michael said you guys had a great meal at Il Chino. He did? When did you talk to him? Oh, I didn't. I saw him on Facebook. My son threw me under the bus one day. I was total innocent question. I was not picking sides. I just wanted to see what people wanted to say. A couple years ago, you may remember that there was a big hubbub about the president and all the vacations they were taking and that kind of thing. And I just posted innocently, what do people think about the president taking all these vacations with his family and how much it's costing the government, for him to do that.
Oh, you didn't take sides when you posted?
I just asked a question because I really wanted to know what people thought. Some people believe.
That's a provocative question.
Well, it was. But anyway, so Dottie's not on Facebook, right? So she would have never known, except my son calls up that morning and says, see what your husband put on Facebook this morning? And he said, what? And she asked, and she looked at me and she said, you did not. I said, I just wanted to know what people thought. I don't make those posts anymore. But the point being is, I got on Facebook.
She's still got to tell him how to behave in public.
That's exactly right. But I got on Facebook because I needed to drive my agents into the conversation. That's the only reason I did it. But John will tell you that it's something that I am very engaged in now, and it's made a huge difference in creating the Roy Wheeler brand and who we are and what we do and that kind of thing. But the point being is, have the birthday cards and hand write the birthday card. I had a birthday November 5th, kind of a big one, 60, right? Used to be you'd get a lot of birthday cards in the mail, on your desk, whatever. 4. Because everybody sent me an email. I mean, everybody was very nice and very gracious and everything, but it was either email or text or whatever. When you go to your mailbox in the evening or whenever you go and you get your stuff out, what's the first thing you open?
Cards.
The cards. You don't open your bills, you don't open the junk stuff, you don't, oh my gosh, there's something handwritten here. And then you find out that it was fake, that it looked like it was handwritten, but it really wasn't, But the point being is, that makes a huge difference. Notes just make all the difference in the world. I had a situation happen just the other day. I heard in a conversation that it was somebody's 36th wedding anniversary. So I wrote them a personal note. I'm walking down the parking lot of the golf course the other day. The woman gets out of her car. 2 of my buddies are walking with me. She comes up, she hugs me, and she said, "Thank you so much for the note that you wrote me and my husband." I said, "Well, you're welcome. 36 years, that's awesome." Well, I walked away, and the 2 guys go, "What's that all about?" I said, "Well, I wrote them a note." And they, so that ripple effect, that 285, those people go, "Oh, wow, that person was really appreciative of that. Maybe I ought to be writing notes," whatever. And then, so Facebook for sure. LinkedIn, if you're not comfortable with Facebook, at least be on LinkedIn, because that is a great place if you'll build it up and get the stuff in there that you can send people to that link, and it's like an electronic resume for yourself. That if you go to my LinkedIn page, there are all sorts of recommendations from teaching to being the CEO to being president of the Realtor Association to whatever. So somebody can go on there and say, "Hey, this guy's been in the business for a while, and this guy's done this and he's done that," and it gains the credibility so that the next time you're with that person. Twitter, I'm involved in Twitter. If you're not going to be involved in Twitter, I wouldn't do it. Even if somebody says, "Oh, you got to," that's really, you got to be doing that several times a day to have any sort of impact in that situation at all. I talked about Raving Fans. Who Moved My Cheese is another book. As you can tell, I'm a PE major, so I look for real simple books that I get the concept. But Who Moved My Cheese is a great book to be reading right now, because our industry is changing. It's changing before our very eyes, and you can try to do it the old way, and maybe some of it will work for you, but you got to go find where they move that cheese so you can get to it. And the best thing I can say to you is, as it relates to that, is finding ways to put yourself into the conversation, finding ways to show people that you care enough that you're touching base with them, and there are just all sorts of different ways of doing it. Being involved in your realtor association, I think, is important. A business networking group, if you haven't thought about doing that, it's a great thing. Find 7 or 8 people that are all from different businesses and agree to meet once a month and just share leads with each other. I've got several of my agents doing that, and it's making a huge difference in their business. Just the biggest thing is just be in the conversation, and not just be in the conversation, but when you're in the conversation, make sure people know that you were there and that you appreciate what they said or you appreciate what they've done, and just that consistent follow-up with people. You had a question?
I have a question about Facebook. I'm on Facebook, I have a bunch of connections. I have a bunch of realtor, quote-unquote, friends, not attorney, just people, other realtors who happen to be on my page.
Right.
So I see all the time the posts that they put on, and that I really decline to do because I find them not useful, but I appreciate your opinion. They'll always say, "Oh, I have the most wonderful clients who think I'm the most wonderful realtor because I stayed up till 3 in the morning making a cookie for whatever, and if I weren't so wonderful, I wouldn't get," and I look at that and go, that's just shameless
Right.
self-promotion.
Right.
But I do think it might work
Right.
because there's so much of it.
Right.
And yet I find that I can't make myself do it. Is it worthwhile?
See, that's the question. I've been on Facebook for years, and I've pulled back a little, and a lot of my realtor friends that I have been on Facebook are pulling back too. Because I think that we overdid it. you know, I have a, business page, Facebook page, posting this every morning from Flipboard, I find an interesting article, I put it on there. I think people start to get numb and dull from it. I mean, I think we're moving into recipes. A friend of mine just recently said, stop with the recipes and gonna be 20 pounds. But, you know, I think that there's a limit, there's a saturation, and I think that you have to be careful. You have to walk that fine line. But I'm seeing a lot of agents now pulling back and not doing as much as they used to because it was just an overkill and I think it's time to people off. I mean, to say you had a nice settlement. I had a great settlement with Echo Title. Wonderful client, wonderful, that's a nice thing to do, but this constant, I think around here.
What I would say to both of you is you're both right, but I'd also say you're both wrong. And the reason I say that is because it's about balance. And if it's overkill, then people will defriend you. I'm not going to do it anymore. I mean, there's some people that just post stuff and I just say, I don't have time. And so that's the key. The key is that you provide not provocative, that's the wrong word, pertinent information that somebody, can say, that was nice. Or information, I think the personal and the business should be separate. But every so often on your personal page say, hey, I'd love for you to like my business page, and you can find more about my real estate stuff over here if you want to, but you don't have to.
But see, these are all personal pages, and that's why, I truly am asking you questions,
Right.
like you're asking a question about vacations.
Right.
I truly do want to know your opinion.
Right.
Because I struggle with it all the time. I would like to be a better self-promoter than
Right.
I am. I'm woefully inadequate at
Right.
it. But on the other hand, I have this sort of, I guess I come from a corporate background that goes,
Yep.
It's so patently obvious what
Right.
they're doing
Right.
to me,
Yep.
from my view. But my question is, if I weren't a realtor and I was just the general public and I thought I might some way down the road need a realtor, would that be helpful?
Right.
Would that put a placeholder in their mind?
Right.
I don't know.
And again, the answer to me, the answer from me is the fact that you've got to, one, do what you're comfortable with. If that's not where you feel like you can do your business, then find another place. Two, differentiate yourself in that arena. Be somebody that is different from a standpoint of, maybe you don't post those kind of things, but you see something that somebody's done, they just got back from Bermuda or whatever, and you personally write them a note saying, hey, it looked like you had a great trip to Bermuda, hope it was awesome. From time to, well, not from time to time, all the time, I'll know that somebody's doing that because they posted it, and I'll have something in their mailbox. When they get back, it says, hey, saw the pictures of Bermuda, that was fantastic, hope you had a great trip. So the first thing they see when they're getting back from their trip is a personal note from me. That, to me, that's the where you differentiate it, and be yourself. The way I look at Facebook is, I try to be who I am on Facebook, or if they're in this room with me. That what people read on there, they know who I am, and if they don't like that, that's okay. I don't do anything political anymore. I don't. Not just because of my wife, but because
I wish our sister would learn that.
yeah, well, no, I won't say that. But anyway, I won't even have a bumper sticker on my car because I'm the CEO of a company of 110 agents. If I have a bumper sticker on my car, 50% of people, or 47% of people, are upset. And so I got asked the other day. It was a wonderful compliment. They asked me if I would be on a conference call. I won't even say who the candidate was. They wanted me to be on a conference call because they knew I ran a small business well, and they liked the way that I articulated myself, and they wanted to have somebody communicate on this conference call for this candidate about the importance of small businesses and support, whatever. And I said to the person, Charlotte, I am so grateful that you called me. It means so much to me. But if I am on that, isn't it going to look like that I'm doing that because I'm in support of this candidate? Now, I may vote for that candidate, but I can't do it. Because people are going to think, even though you asked me to do this and it's supposed to be objective, it's not objective. People don't look at it as objective. So we just have to know what we're doing with that. So, can we take just a couple-minute break, and then I'll do the open house thing. I promise I'm going to have you out of here by noon. Thank you for your